Welcome to the Gilbert GonZealous Group, purveyor of food at the proper time, food for thought, and the SSS, the Spiritual Snitching Society. We're a new type of society. We do everything in the open.
That is so Satan.
The views expressed by our guests are not the opinions of any elder body or Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, but they should be. Any similarities to any deceased governing body member is purely coincidental. What you're about to experience is an honest debate forum of maturely trained and seasoned Christians. Do not attempt this at home.
Welcome to the Gilbert GonZealous Group. Today we have a great show because we have 5 mature, seasoned Christians. Each member of our panel today has decades of first-hand experience of the policies and the procedures of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. I am very positive you're going to enjoy today's diverse panel and the lively conversation that we're going to have. So, if you do not yet have your drink, if you don't have it in your hand, and you don't have your popcorn and you don't have your coffee, I encourage you to hit pause and go get it, because this is going to be a great show and you're really going to enjoy it. I had a great time making it, and I'm sure you're going to be uplifted at the very end. So I want to get started. First, we have Susan Gaskin. Now, do we really need other guests if Susan is here? Not really, but we need to be fair to everybody else. Our next returning guest is from sunny South Florida, is Eric, son of Thunder. And the man who is leading the way in critical thinking amongst Jehovah's Witnesses is our friend JT. And from the People's Republic of Ireland, your tour guide in Belfast, Neil, the Great Apostate. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, my brother from another mother, brothers and sisters, like he says, James Backwards is in the house. Good to have you, James. Now let's get started. Question 1. Why is it that Jehovah's Witnesses have congregated for years, but ex-Jehovah's Witnesses do not congregate? Let's go with ladies first. Susan.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Gilbert. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'd say the short answer is that ex-JWs don't need to meet together. You know, Jehovah's Witnesses are part of a very high controlling organization where you have to believe what they tell you to believe when they tell you to believe it. And there's a lot of repetition to all the meetings that they're made to attend. You know, preach more. You're always told to preach more. The end is near. Do more, do more, do more. That you're not good enough. It's basically the same message. And if you miss one of these meetings, you're made to feel really guilty about it. And if you continue to miss meetings, you're going to have an elder call you up and wonder, you know, what's going on? Why aren't you at the meetings? And, you know, all the meetings that they have, it really reminds me of something that I read in Ray Franz's second book, In Search of Christian Freedom. When Milton Henschel, who was, he was actually the Society's president when I was still a member. They were discussing whether the meetings could be either shorten the length of the meetings or shorten the amount of meetings, and whether they were, you know, this was a consideration. And his answer was, well, what would the brothers do if we gave them more time? Oh, just probably watch more TV. I thought, wow. Like as if as a Jehovah's Witness, you don't have a life at all. You just got to go to meetings, go in service, focus on the end, focus on the organization. Like it's some kind of jealous boyfriend that's dictating every facet of your life, you know? So when you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness, you don't need to meet together. I mean, I have met many ex-witnesses. In fact, when I first moved to Montreal, I began my own little meetup group. And just to get to know other ones and, you know, share our stories. I certainly love to meet different ones. But we don't need to meet together. And the reason is we don't have a belief system that we feel we need to force on other people. Like when you're a Jehovah's Witness, we don't have this dark cloud hanging over our heads. telling us that, we'll be blood guilty if we don't preach and convert everybody that we can try to convert, and that if we don't do this, we're going to be blood guilty and die as well. Once you leave the organization, it takes a bit of time, I think, to figure out what you do believe. And but once you figure it out, it's great to just simply live your life, I mean, when I first left the organization, I had so much time on my hands. I had no idea what to do with it. So what did I do? I watched more TV. No, just kidding. Actually, I didn't do that. I just realized that there's a whole world out there that I had no idea about. I reconnected with friends. I reconnected with relatives that I hadn't spoken to for years. And I enjoy my life. So ex-witnesses, we don't need to meet together. We simply have a good time living our lives the way it's meant to be lived.
Well, I've never had a jealous boyfriend, but yes, you brought out a lot of good points. Thank you. What say you, JT?
Hey, Gilbert, thanks for having me on the show. And that's a very good question. Jehovah's Witnesses congregate, and typically people who are former Jehovah's Witnesses, they generally don't. And a lot has to do with the fact that after years and years of sitting in meetings and so forth, most former Jehovah's Witnesses don't find it very interesting to congregate. Some people, when they leave the organization, Gilbert, they become part of another denomination. And then there are others who they decide they've had enough with organized religion. So oftentimes it just varies based on what the person's life experience has been when it comes to being one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
That's a very good answer. What about you, Neil?
Hi Gilbert, thanks for having me on your show. Okay, why don't Jehovah's Witnesses or ex-Jehovah's Witnesses hang out together? I think there's a couple of reasons. Number one, we all leave at different times and for different reasons. Some of us leave we're completely mentally broken up. Some of us leave because we do genuinely want to go off and live dodgy lives. There's no getting around that. Plenty of people do. I knew people who left just simply so they could sleep about, do drugs and, have the life they wanted. That wasn't for me, but I'm not judging them particularly. Sorry, I'm just scratching my back when I talk to you. So there's that reason. There's another reason which I think is the most important one, and that is because being forced together, being like a sandwich, doesn't necessarily make you all friends, even though you pretended to be friends when you were inside. It makes you forced together. And as I've said before in my own videos, there was loads of people in the Kingdom Hall that I went and did stuff with, that I went bowling with, that I walked in the mountains with, that I went out in service with, that I went to the odd non-Jehovah's Witness do with. And when I think about it, I think, oh, what assholes. Not to sugarcoat it. And I'm sure, it's not to say I have it all my damn self. Those people thought the same thing about me. They were like, why do I hang around with Neil? He's such a prick. It's just the way it was. We had to hang around with each other. And now that we don't, it's just human nature. I think that's my first answer for you. I think it's perfectly natural and I've got no problems at all with it. Although, yes, it makes us all kind of lonely. Smallest violin in the world for you.
Hey, great points as well, Neil. Mr. Backwards.
Thank you very much, Gilbert, for having me on. I'm so happy to be here. I think that this is an excellent show and format, and I hope that you can continue. So right into the first question, why don't we get together? Why don't ex-Jehovah's Witnesses congregate? Well, we don't have anything to congregate around. Plain and simple. We are an army of individuals. And until we fix that, then nothing's going to change. I believe that everyone should have a say, and I'm very spiritual. Okay, I might have quit the Jehovah's Witnesses, but I kept God in Christ, and I'm happy that I did, because I think that not only am I gathering right now with ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm also gathering with those that I've never gathered with before, and I think that that's a big key. But hey man, make some t-shirts. I will definitely I will be one of the I will be a big part of the apostate army if that ever comes about. But yeah, we don't have anything that's really that makes us stick together. We don't have anything that we all can kind of gather around and back. Okay, we completely forget God and Christ. We completely, for the most part, turn our back on doctrine and on evangelizing, and we lose ourselves, which I believe is part of the process. I believe that is what they intended to do. when they instituted this fellowshipping, it's a brainwash kind of a process, but we are actually helping the organization by not gathering together. We're helping the organization by forgetting who we are, by not knowing who we are, and by leaving out God in Christ. So that's why we don't get together, because we have nothing to get together about. The other thing is, there's a lot of vitriol. There's a lot of negativity. It's kind of depressing, you know? It's like, nah, I should start drinking, smoking, start hanging out. I should start being thug. You know, I should start doing all this stuff that I didn't do before. I think that people, before they figure out who they are, before they flush all their baggage, before they get rid of all their demons, they come on social media, and they spread their negativity. But I don't think there's anything positive about that. That's why another thing that turns people off. Nobody's going to gather around somebody who doesn't know who they are. Nobody's going to gather around, somebody who's upset about getting divorced by the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's sort of a deal that you have to kind of figure out on your own. But I really do hope that we can come together. I think that God in Christ has to have something to do with it, though. That's why we became Jehovah's Witnesses in the first place, right? If we leave out God in Christ, then it's a no-show.
T-shirts, okay. You know what? I just may make some T-shirts. Son of Thunder.
What's going on, GG? Thanks for having me on the show again. Why is it that Jehovah's Witnesses congregated for years, but ex-Jehovah's Witnesses don't congregate? Well, Gilbert, I don't know if I can fairly answer that question, because I just burst onto the scene and have already congregated with a few ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and I do have the desire to continue to do that. And I would imagine that ex-Jehovah's Witnesses don't congregate because of proximity, and that is my final answer.
Thanks, Eric. Now we have question 2. A woman can be president, can be prime minister, she can be a queen, she can be a church minister, she can be an ambassador, she can be a doctor, lawyer, Supreme Court justice, military general, even an astronaut, but not a governing body member. So why have Jehovah's Witness women taken a back seat for decades? Again, women first. Susan.
Now, I'm not sure what you're talking about, Gilbert. I mean, the women were allowed to scrub the Kingdom Hall toilets, like you see me doing here. Happily scrubbing away while singing kingdom melodies. And don't forget that we were also allowed to have pretend conversations with other JW women on the platform. We just weren't allowed to face the audience because that would be considered teaching, and the Apostle Paul had a real problem with that. There are women who do not agree with all the detailed JW policies, and the women who don't agree with it for the most part just leave the organization. They don't want to be part of it. So what you're left with is an organization full of yes men and yes women who simply do what they're told because they know that if they don't conform to all the detailed policies, and if they start questioning things, they're going to be labeled a troublemaker and possibly get disfellowshipped. And keep in mind too that there's always a Bible verse to back up somebody's viewpoint. If you're a racist, you can find a Bible verse for that. If you are somebody who wants to beat your child, there's a verse for that. And if you're somebody who wants to oppress women, there's a verse for that. And possibly even a JW app for that. So the bottom line is you have to go along with whatever they tell you to. Right or wrong, you just go along, because the witnesses know that if they don't, they will be punished.
JW app, huh? You're right about finding a verse for this and that. I think we all agree with you on that one. Neil.
Question 2. Why do women take a back seat in the Kingdom Halls? Yet obviously they can do loads of stuff in the world outside the Kingdom Halls. Why do they allow themselves to be so traduced by the Jehovah's Witness leadership? I think that's a really hard question. I think that there's cultural reasons. I think that there's human nature reasons. I think that I don't want to piss people off by stating a lot of my opinions. I think that maybe men, with the testosterone, we're more wanting to be the boss. And I think women can naturally just go, yeah, you do whatever you want to do. we'll just do our thing. And I think that can often end up biting women in the ass. I think that might be one reason for it. I certainly don't think it's a benefit. I think the Jehovah's Witnesses would be any religion actually. Think of them: Catholic Church, the Mormons, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Scientologists. Put some women in charge and see how things change. I think they would become much more friendly, much more human places to be. And I think it's really sad that they aren't. Any particular reason why Jehovah's Witness women don't? I think that number one, it's because they are trained not to. They are constantly pushed down from birth to be told that your brain's so small, you've got the tiny, look at that wrinkly head, you've got the tiny brain, women. And that's what they're told. They're told they're no good, they're not capable of doing things, that all the better, they can't read a scripture to the kingdom hall, no, they have to pretend they're talking to another sister. I think that's one of the reasons. I think it's very sad, but I think it's pretty obvious. Again, I don't blame sisters. I don't blame women for it. I think that it's 10,000 years of human sort of societal evolution at work there. There used to be societies that were led by women that were matriarchal, and we don't have a great deal of info about them, but I'm sure they were lovely. I'm sure they were great. I wouldn't really worry if they existed today either. Wouldn't bother me in the slightest. But I don't think the Jehovah's Witness ladies are going to change soon, which is going to hurt them. But what can you do? Sorry, guys.
Put some women in charge. I love that. What say you, JT?
Well, Gilbert, that too is a good question. But I think it has a lot to do with just society. In general, women have been in a second place role for as long as humans have been living on the earth. It's only been in recent years, in terms of history, that women have had opportunities they've never had before. And then when you think about religion especially, religion has always been built around the concept of the man's in charge. And so historically, most religious denominations, that's how they're structured. And so women who are brought up in these type of environments, they simply accept, well, I'm supposed to be second, and that's where I'll stay. You often heard the phrase, the little lady should know her place. And so those types of things over the years and centuries, it's created literally two types of worlds, a world for women and a world for men. But when it comes to religion, historically, women have always been in religion in a second place role. So to see Jehovah's Witnesses not have any women as the governing body, it's really not out of character with religions. Now, there are religions today where you may have a husband and wife or co-pastors in their church. But generally speaking, as you look across the board in most religions, you still have men taking the lead and women following along as a good old wife.
Thank you. Son of Thunder.
Why have women that are Jehovah's Witnesses taken a back seat for decades? That's a very good question. It must come down to the same reasons that they shun, that they don't accept blood transfusions, that they go out in service, that they don't question the teachings. It's all part of the control, and it's all part of the Watchtower policy, Jehovah's organization. These rules come from God himself, and that's probably why.
Thank you, Mr. Backwards.
Okay, so why have J-Dub women taken a back seat for decades? This has to do with the evil empire that is Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, guys, I am totally I'm thinking this is I'm thinking this is mind control, okay? I'm really thinking that this is a way to extend control by disenfranchising women, okay? Now think about the population of the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's mostly women, right? So if you got women all in one group, in one category, boom, you just cut down the fight. You just cut down the complication by about 80%. Maybe 70%. Okay, but for the most part, even the exes, who's getting this fellowship more? Isn't it the men? Okay, I believe so, because really, the reason why you disenfranchise women, it's to increase lust, it's to increase listlessness, it's to increase the spirit of fornication. Why do I say that? Okay, again, I'm the religious ex-Jehovah's Witness, okay? by increasing the spirit of fornication, you increase the strength of guilt. You increase the strength of fear. Okay, because there's always this fear that you're going to get this fellowship. That's always the underlying issue. Okay, by taking the power out of the hands of the women, they're not thinking about, we're supposed to be religion, right? We're supposed to be thinking about God in the Bible. We're supposed to be thinking about the Spirit of God. The women are not thinking about God, guys. When we go to the Kingdom Hall, right? And I know it because I used to hold the microphones. Okay, you got those nice necklines that are diving way down. It made holding the microphones very fun for me. Okay, because my eye is spying cleavage. My eye is not spying Jesus Christ. Okay, my eye is spying all of the women out there. Now, by disenfranchising the women, right? What is the main goal? I'm sorry to sound sexist, okay? I hope I don't come off sounding sexist. But a lot of times the main goal for all women was nothing but a husband, to get a husband. You see it. You see the young women getting married at 18. Why? It's because their loins are fiery. Their loins are filled with lust. They wanna seal the deal. Same thing for the young brothers, but it's not as hard for the young brothers, is it? All the young brothers do, all they need to do is get baptized. All they need to do is come of age, and then they have the pick of the litter. So by disenfranchising women, you establish a culture of fornication. You establish a culture of fear and of reprisals because of the fornication. But the spirit of adultery is the point of this. By taking their eyes off of Christ and putting it on, their crotch. So that's what I think.
Evil empire. All right. Question 3. Ronald Reagan said, if you cannot make them see the light, turn up the heat. What is the most effective form of activism against Jehovah's Witnesses and the governing body? Susan.
Well, I'm not sure what the most effective method is. Obviously, it's one where you get the most amount of people to listen to you and to wake up. For me, I personally feel that YouTube videos are the way to go because people can look at them whenever they want. They're available, 24/7. They can look at them in the privacy of their own home. And they might be able to even find them just stumbling across them by accident. They may not even be looking for something that's about the Jehovah's Witnesses, but they're looking for something else and they sort of stumble across your videos. And I do know that active Jehovah's Witnesses are looking at my videos and as well as many other people's videos. So I think they are working. I know for sure people have woken up and come out of the organization as a result of watching YouTube videos. And but I always remember what Stephen Hassan said. He's a leading cult expert, author, and he was on the Oprah Winfrey Show. He said that our goal should not be to pull people out of a cult. Our goal should be to give them information that empowers them to be able to make up their own minds and make up their own decisions. So that's always my goal as well. Give people information. If you can add a bit of humor to it, because that is my personality, kind of goofy, kind of quirky. I think it's effective at just getting people to think and do further research. And what people choose to do with their life is none of my business. It's up to them. I think we're all here for our own journey, and if it means coming out of the organization, well, I think it's great.
Thank you. JT.
Well, one of the things that people often think about when they think of high control groups or cults is that there's a lack of information. And so the best thing that you can do is to simply provide people with information, pretty much like you're doing in others. For example, I've talked to so many people over the years. When you ask them, what is it about the organization you wish you had known? And they all say exactly the same thing. If I had only known XYZ, I probably would have never become one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I think about my mom, for example. Back in the 60s, the type of information that you and I have access to with just a click of a mouse, they didn't have it. And generally what happens is when you're talking to people and they have not bought into the governing body, the faithful slave, they speak for God, and I can't question them, like your typical co-workers, they'll have no problem whatsoever just questioning whatever you tell them. And so if you can provide people with information, that's why the internet has got to be the society's worst nightmare, because people can search out information in the privacy of their home. Humans are curious. That's why we see so many former Jehovah's Witnesses. When they started out, they were Jehovah's Witnesses because they were curious. And we see it today. Some of the most die-hard Jehovah's Witness supporters, they're online with us because they want to know what's going on. Even though they talk a good game, they want to know. And we see every night they click on that browser and they're back online. So the best thing that we can do, as they said, is to shed light. You let sunshine. Sunshine will always take care of things. And I think information that we have now and the access that people have to it, that's the best thing in the world.
Yes, you're right. Son of Thunder.
What is the most effective form of activism against JWs in the governing body? Well, for me, I'm not against Jehovah's Witnesses, but I am against the governing body. And I think the best form of activism is right here on the internet. I don't think that we can fish them out. Maybe we can, but I think, just like Mike Brooks says from the Kim and Mike channel, that there has to be an inner conflict brewing first, and then they'll click, and then they'll join us, and then they'll be happy.
You know what? You're right, Eric. All arrows should be pointed at the governing body. Mr. Backwards.
So you're doing it. What can I say? I like your channel. You gather people together. We have to come together as a unit. You know, we have to have one collective. Yeah, I hate collectives, but a collective can be good. Okay, so if we come together as a collective, if we come together in excellence, I mean, look at YouTube. A guy can get on YouTube and like sing and have millions of subscribers. If we come on to these if we come on to social media, if we come onto YouTube as a unit, let's make some t-shirts or something. Okay, if we come together as a unit, that's the first thing. Okay, come together as a unit. But also, we have to take back the ground that we lost. We're not going to overturn a thing if we don't take back the ground that we lost. Right now, there's slander. Okay, right now there's labeling. Right now, they get away with twisting the scriptures. They get away with these things. They get away with these things with our family members. Okay, so if we overturn these twisted scriptures, if we overturn on the basis of the Bible, on the basis of God and Jesus, if we overturn the Jehovah's Witnesses based on their doctrine, okay, you have to overturn it based on the doctrine. You can't come to the witnesses all thugged out with your black and mild hanging out, cussing in every other sentence. You're bitter. You're angry about getting kicked out. I mean, they're going to run away from you just like the plague. You got to come. You have to already have all that flushed out of your system. You got to get all that hate out of your heart. Okay, first of all, to be a part of this apostate army, get rid of all that baggage first. Learn who you are. Find out who you are first of all. Then once you got it together, if you still want to do this thing, okay, come together. Get together with Gilbert GonZealous, GG for GB. Look up James backwards. Okay, let's make this a solidarity thing. We can come together. That's the only way. Okay, because if we're just a bunch of individuals going to take down this this hierarchy, you're not gonna even pierce the wall, guys. We have to stand as one. Okay, if we stand as one, then our voice is going to roar just like a lion, and plus God will be with us. That's another thing. Don't leave out God in Christ.
GG for GB is solidarity. Neil.
What do I believe will be the best way to turn the heat up on the Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, number one, I've always said, and I maintain this forever, that the best thing you can possibly do with the Jehovah's Witnesses is humor. Is use humor against them. And there's a couple of reasons for this. it gives a cool factor to the whole mocking people thing, right? It's meant not be nice. It's not. It's mean, okay? But it gives a cool factor. It also gives a sense of self-confidence to people who don't believe it, who are worried that not only does God not kill you instantly when you leave the truth, but I should do the air quotes for the truth, when you leave the truth, but look, these people can mock the Kingdom Hall. They can mock the elders. They can mock the governing body, and not a damn thing will happen to them. Don't want to spend much more time on this, but I wanted to explain to you one reason why I think that it's an absolute lock, why that's the case. Back in the days of communism, there was a horrible dictator called Nicolae Ceausescu, something like that. And I think he was the leader of Romania, I believe it was. But anyway, he was a horrible, horrible man. And people wanted to start up some kind of protest against him. So they looked at it and they thought, well, what can we do? He's got the army, he's got the police, he's got death squads, he's got torture camps. What can we use? So what people did, and this is it, they used humour. And humour was a fantastic thing. Sorry, my daughter's just walked in. Hello, Emily. Hi, now be shushing now for a second. They can't even see you. Okay, yes, I'm kissing you. Right, go and ride your bike. So yes, they used humour against Nicolae Ceausescu. What they did is they went into the town square and they had a wheelie bin, or just like a big metal bin, with a picture of Ceausescu's face painted on, or plastered on, and they had a baseball bat lying beside it. And then they went away and they videotaped what people would do with it. And it wasn't long before a queue was formed up around the block of people wanting to bash his face in. Right, now what happened when the police showed up? They couldn't arrest the people because they're hitting a bin. They couldn't arrest the pranksters because the pranksters were long gone and were videotaping silently. So they arrested the bin, okay? It was humour that actually started the whole campaign to get rid of him. And I think humour will be the one thing that gets rid of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I would add an addendum that I think that the work that J.W. Struggle does, where he interviews people, talks about their experiences, is hugely good. I think that's brilliant. And I think the work that people like Sarah Gaskin-Fusco do and John Cedars do, where they just delve into what is absolutely wrong with the witnesses, is also important. But me, I'm not clever enough to do those things, and I'm going to stick with the comedy as best as I can. Thanks, guys.
Yes, humor. I agree with you. Question 4. Some say Watchtower will relax its shunning policy. Others say it cannot, because that is the glue holding the cult together and keeping outsiders out. What can we expect to see in the near future? Susan.
Well, Gilbert, I'd love to believe that the organization would relax their shunning policy and become more Christ-like. But unfortunately, I believe that they're just going to become more and more and more like the Pharisees that they are. I mean, a lot of changes have happened within the organization. I hardly recognize them anymore from the organization that I used to belong to. I mean, they've now got this JW Broadcasting, TV ministry, evangelism thing going on. The cart witnessing, the tablets replacing literature. There's all these child molestation lawsuits and inquiries into the abuses that have gone on that they've covered up for the last 50 plus years. And these crazy gospel rock videos. I mean, it's a very, very different organization. And people are leaving. There are people that are waking up. And the organization, the way they react is to panic. It's a fear-based, guilt-based organization where they do weird things when they start seeing things happen, like changes of people leaving, and they start, begging for money, and they start just acting weirdly. This has been the history of the organization. They don't have any proper training. They don't have any proper education. So they simply react the way an animal would, start freaking out. And the shunning policy is a means of control. And it's something that they use to control their members. And as heinous as the shunning policy is, unfortunately, I don't see them putting an end to it.
Thank you, Susan. JT.
Good question. The Society's shunning policy is probably the most devastating policy they have in place because it is so effective. It literally shuts families down, cuts people off. In fact, that's one of the biggest things I talk to people about that concerns them because they're impacted by it. There are some who think that the society may change, but you have to ask the question, what is the whole concept behind being a high control group or a cult? Control. And what better way than to hold somebody's parents, mom, brother, sister as a hostage? Everybody knows that. And so if the society were to relax the shunning policy, more people would leave. Can you imagine if you could actually think about this? Imagine if you could talk to a person after they've been disfellowshipped. Think about how long you have been a Jehovah's Witness. How many people do you know who've been best friends? I mean, close, tight buddies. The night that they are read off, so and so is this fellowship, that person who's been a best friend forever will call them up, stop by a couple of days later and says, man, look, what happened? Tell me what went on. How was your meeting? I mean, what did y'all guys discuss? That never happens. The reason why is because every Jehovah's Witness is told exactly why somebody is disfellowshipped. They were unrepentant, and the brothers had to disfellowship. But yet, think about this. How many Jehovah's Witnesses have actually had the chance to talk to someone who was disfellowshipped, and they just had a long conversation about the entire judicial process? No. And so the society knows that by people not being able to talk to people who've been removed, there are so many things they will have no idea about. I've talked to so many people over the years. When you listen to them tell their story about how their judicial case was handled, it's like a joke. Can you imagine if you could tell people in the congregation, you know, I met with Brother Johnson, and Brother Johnson was asking me questions about what I was wearing the night I did this and did that, and the friends just wouldn't believe it. So I don't really see the society letting go of the shunning process because it's just an effective tool, and who gives away their effective tools?
Good answer. Neil.
Will they relax their shunning policy? I think that there's going to be more pressure on them to do that as time goes on. I think that it's going to be harder for them to keep it enforced as time goes on because more people will leave. I can tell you now that I'm as an apostate as an ex-Jehovah's Witness gets. And I was talking to a Jehovah's Witness today who's never shunned me, who shook my hand. We had a good laugh. We had a good joke. What was actually the funny story was somebody contacted me on Facebook who was a witness from Germany, and they want to come and visit Lisburn Kingdom Hall for some reason. And they said, you're the only person I could find when I Googled Lisburn Kingdom Hall. So I'm really sorry to bother you. This might be a bit awkward, but... And I was like, okay, hang on, I'll get in touch for you. I actually did. I gave her the details because, you know, she's a grown-up, and I did offer to tell her the real truth, which she did not want to hear. But so anyway, I went to Roddy's house. He's an elder in Lisburn, and I told him, and, you know, he laughed. He said, so you're our representative, Neil, now? God help us. And, you know, we had a good conversation, good chat, no problems at all. But the point is that I think that that's going to be more and more difficult to achieve, the lockstep shunning. That said, I don't see them ever wanting to do that. I see them fighting it tooth and nail, and I see them pushing harder and harder to make you not talk to your family. And I think that the only reason I think that will fail is because I don't think the times are right for them anymore. I think that it's just too difficult to do. But I do think, I mean, at the end of the day, they are going to try their damnedest. And as I've said before, I think in my last video, you'll fool some of the people all the time. And, you know, our myth, our dream is that, oh yeah, in years to come, there'll be no Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, they're hell. There'll be millions. There'll be millions because there's plenty of fools in the world. I was one of them for 25 years. And that's just the way it is. And everyone watching this, you were one too for probably longer than me, many of you. And that's just truth, unfortunately. So, shunning, will it end? No, guys. I think they'll get cannier with it. We don't shun people. We leave it up to their conscience. Look, it's up to your conscience. Don't do it. I think that'll be more the way it is, unfortunately. And I'm sorry about that. Okay, thanks.
Son of Thunder.
What can we expect regarding the shunning policy for Watchtower in the near future? Boy, that's a good question. I don't think they're going to relax it, and it is the glue holding it together. And we actually have a clip here of the government. Do we have that clip?
No, we're having problems with the computer, the audio, and it looks like someone's trying to hack into our computer system.
We don't have that clip, but during the Australian Commission, they asked him about that, and governing body Jackson said they won't be changing that, at least not anytime soon.
James.
So more of the same, run the ball all day until they stop you, son. That's the only thing. I mean, why would they? That's their golden goose. Right now, my family members don't talk to me. Why? Because they're afraid of the Pharisees and Sadducees. They're fearful about getting tossed out of the synagogue, and I hardly have any more family members left that haven't been in this fellowship, and that's just a big mess. But yeah, why would they change that? I mean, that's what being a Jehovah's Witness means. I mean, it's synonymous with the religion altogether. There's no way they're going to get rid of that. That's their bread and butter. So relaxing the shunning, when you relax the shunning, all of a sudden a guy like me has a voice. No, they can't let me have a voice. They can't let you have a voice. Okay, even if you go up to them, they're going to act like they can't see you. Okay, so there's no way that's going to change. It's going to stay the way that it's always been. Okay, it could potentially get worse. Look at the Trump rally. Okay, look what's going on in the world around you. Free speech is not only on the outs with the Jehovah's Witnesses; it's on the outs. Period. Look at the world. Okay, the same things that the witnesses are doing, so it's being done right now by the New World Order. Okay, the future really is fascism. The future is no free speech. I mean, it's already happening now. Social media right now. I mean, if you say the wrong thing, guys, they're going to come after you. The witnesses, are they going to overturn? At such a pivotal time, in life right now, there's no way. I mean, it works. It's been proven to work. It's going to continue to work. So that, it's going to be very tough. But I mean, guys, we're going to still overturn this thing. We're going to make inroads because, the truth has to have its day. They're not going to continue to be able to shut us up because of venues like this. I mean, I hope that God blesses your effort, Gilbert, on what you're doing. I hope that this thing actually takes off and gets more popular than you ever imagined. Because when it does, what will the witnesses be able to do? Will they be able to point their fingers at you and shun you? I mean, they've already done their worst. I think that it would be a detriment to the apostate army if they were to relax their shunning policy. Maybe we'll get sucked back into that dead end, So I hope that they don't change anything. I hope they stick with their golden goose, because their golden goose is about to fail them real bad. So
The golden goose. I like that. Okay, now let's move on to question 5. Hold on a second. Matthew, okay, just this one time. Folks, we have a rude intruder. Matthew Mark is a YouTuber. He contacts me all the time, and he was begging to be on the show, and I told him no. I kicked him out last week, but he is begging to give an answer, so we're only going to let him give one answer to question 4. Go ahead, Matthew Mark.
Dear Gilbert, to quote the great philosopher of our times, Sir John Lennon, war is over if you want it. Disfellowshipping is over if you want it. I practice pre-shunning. It sends them up a wall. Every active, awake Jehovah's Witness should practice pre-shunning before leaving. Start pre-shunning family and friends. It will break the disfellowshipping spirit. It freaks them out. They hate being shunned. Before they can shun you, you beat them to the shun.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. Now we're going to move on to question 5. We'll wrap up the show. Will Sophia's friend Susie fall in love with Caleb? And will Caleb go to third base and get DF'd? Son of Thunder.
Will Sophia's friend Susie fall in love with Caleb? Will Caleb go to third base and get disfellowshipped? I'm guessing with Susie? No, I don't think any of that's going to happen. Caleb is going to get introduced to marijuana, love marijuana at age 12, and at 18 be disfellowshipped for being with Jackie, a non-believer from high school.
Wow, marijuana. Susan?
Well, I don't know Susie very well, and I'm not sure if Caleb is her type. And I don't know all the background of the Susie whatever story with Caleb. In fact, I haven't even finished connecting the dots on Lot's wife as she's being horribly disfigured from the children's page on the JW.org website. So I'm not sure how to answer that. I'm going to choose a side though. I'm going to say no, that Caleb is not her type.
Okay, no. JT.
Hey man, that's a good question about the little cartoons. It makes me think about how the society uses cartoons to mess with little kids. They probably won't let them get in trouble, but what they might do is they might end up having them have to be called into a judicial committee or something, and how they were repentant and how they had to work their salvation back. But they'll probably hold on to them because they're so effective with the little kids today.
James.
Yes. Susie and Caleb are going to go to third base. I mean, because honestly, Susie's disenfranchised and she doesn't have anything else on her mind. And Caleb, well, hey, Caleb's a guy, so it's going to happen. Will they get this fellowship? Depends on how far they go. Because third base don't feel as good as home base. And I mean, that's the way things go with the Jehovah's Witnesses.
No, Caleb's not going to go to third base and get DF'd. He's a good boy. He doesn't like girls.
Yes, James. He's a good boy, just like Susan said. Last, Neil.
I've never watched a Caleb and Sophia video. I have no idea what you're talking about. I think they're fucking gross, those videos though. Children's cartoons is disgusting. I was lucky to get that extra color Bible stories when I was young, and these people are getting cartoons they don't know they have it made. So angry. Jehovah's Witnesses today, they've got it easy. Not like us. We had to walk through the snow to get to the Kingdom Hall. Will they get married? No, they'll pioneer forever.
Okay, question 6. Is J.W. Crisis really the Jehovah's Witness elder you wish you had when you were growing up in the Kingdom Hall? Susan.
Well, of course we would have wanted to have the JW Crisis elder in our hall when we were growing up. Who wouldn't?
Thank you, Susan. James, what say you?
GG for GB. Gilbert GonZealous is the elder that I wish that I had when I was growing up. I mean, because then I would have been a lot cooler, and I probably would have got this fellowship a lot sooner. So yes, Gilbert is the elder that I wish that I have. I mean, hey man, I'll be your ministerial servant if you'll be my elder. Even still, just put out an application. I'm here for you. Keep up the good work.
Son of Thunder.
Gilbert, everyone on YouTube has been saying that you are the elder they wish they had when they were going to the Kingdom Hall. I am one of them. If you cannot make them see the light, turn up the heat. GG for GB 2016. I'm Son of Thunder, and I approve this message.
Thank you, distinguished panel, for your participation. Your answers were most enlightening, and I'm sure everybody that was watching thoroughly enjoyed the show. The Gilbert GonZealous Group is currently taping and editing shows 3 and 4. If you would like to be on the show, you can contact us directly via our YouTube channel. So, join us next week when a new all-star panel answers the following questions. When I hear overlapping, I think about women dancing on a pole. Is the overlapping generation doctrine a pagan, sadistic, sexual gateway teaching, or SGT? Is Charles Russell in hell or the Pleiades? Is the Urantia book demonic? I say yes. And finally, if pedophiles are allowed to roam free in the Jehovah's Witness religion, is that a sexual loophole?
Gilbert GonZealous Group, purveyors of food at the proper time. Food 4 to 5. We would like to thank Goodwill and the Salvation Army for providing Gilbert's wardrobe, and Jeffrey Jackson for his cameo appearance. If you would like to be on the Gilbert GonZealous Group and voice your opinion about the trending topics of the Jehovah's Witness world, you can reach us via our YouTube channel, JW Crisis.
That is so Satan.